I've said plenty of times that Lily is my cash cow and she gave me permission to verbally beat her up, but honestly, it's getting to the point that it's starting to become kind of pathetic. I think I started to pity her when I noticed that pretending that her Pokemon webcomic fanfic was her actual life, but not enough for me to give up on the thousands of views, mind you. I just decided to balance my karma a little bit and help another creator get the spotlight while I rub Lily's face in the ground. So I went to Medium to find some think pieces written by leftists that care about cartoon YouTubers, and I found this piece by Left Hook, which is great because it will give me a catchy clickbaity title without me having to do the YouTube equivalent of diving into the sewer to discover which turd smells the worst. Yes, I'm reaching for the low-hanging fruit, but it's been a long year and taking it out on someone no one with a passing interest in reality will defend my equivalent of a day in the spa. There is this crowd of invisible twat blasters that keep supporting Lily and keep getting new videos made because it's reached the point that even the good old ones have been retroactively tainted. So here's how it's gonna work. I'm going to read the list in my laptop and I will be comparing the new top 10 worst videos to the old list of top 10 worst videos, and I will compare to see if the new bad videos are worse than the old videos. Here's what she says in the list. I will say that each entry on this new list is worse than the entry of the same number on the old list. So this number 10 is worse than the old number 10, this new number 1 is worse than the old number 1, and so forth. And I will say whether I agree with that or not. Number 10, the My Little Pony one with the straight people. I have never watched My Little Pony in my life, and honestly I don't care. To me, this video is very I'm rating about a cartoon episode that I don't like. I think it's boring, and I think that the fan is wrong by saying that it's very good. And honestly, it's fine. You're going to notice that I don't like talking about the videos where she's just bashing cartoons because nobody cares. It's just a YouTuber that has bad opinions on cartoons. Like, I would rather bash her opinions when she's saying something actually like really harmful and stupid, like, yeah, you should totally kill everyone and make society worse, and if you disagree with me, you're a Nazi. I don't care about why she hates My Little Pony episode. In fact, I wish she made more videos like this, just ranting about cartoons. It's fun. I used to watch this My Little Pony's videos because it was funny and it felt like she knew what she was talking about, probably because I didn't watch My Little Pony. So which one is worse, the My Little Pony one or the music one? I'm gonna go with the music because I feel like she's complaining about something that's even less important, because she's like, oh, the music in Lavender Town is bad because it's all monotone. It's like, people like the music, they like the music from the Pokemon level. If you're going to be making a video about video game sounds, at least research this deeply and go off the deep end on craziness and do what H. Bomber Guy did. That's the least that you owe to your fans. Now, ninth worst. Finally, some good freaking cartoon gays. So this list says that the video feels objectifying, and I'm not sure if I agree. She's just talking about a cartoon couple that she likes. She's going to talk about Lose more later, and I will save my objections to that. But as personal preferences go, I think it's much harder for a YouTuber to make a bad video about something that they like than it is to make a bad video about something that they hate. Because when you talk about something that you hate, you are deliberately taking an opposite stance and you are fighting the creators on that, and you are going to argue about things. But if you say that you like something, then it can just be positive, and you can only be bad if you say something like, oh, I love how this show portrays homophobia as a good thing, which is very hard to do. So she said she can't praise one thing without bashing something else. Lily even decided to designate the entire video around the 10-minute mark as they, unlike those other show segments. I do agree that it was pretty annoying. But you know, man, she's just talking about cartoon gays that she likes. So which one is worse, Tropes versus Ida Davis or this one? It's obviously Tropes versus Ida Davis. This is something that Lily acknowledges later on that she should have been harder on, and it was very weird to watch even when I liked her. This cartoon that references this transgender woman as Quagmire's dad is very trans-friendly, trust me. And yeah, it's a video that's so bad that even she acknowledges that she should have been harder on it. Not that it has made her delete this or make some video retracting it, she just put in a little observation later on that we did something wrong, but we're going to get to that later. 8th worst, grading gay rap. We shouldn't have just settled for scraps. That's legendary. That's the video that gave gay rap representation to Steven Universe an F. And unless I am very, very wrong about how grading system in American schools work, you get an F when you've done zero effort. Like if you give a test and it's completely blank, you get an F. So she just looked at this cartoon that had a marriage scene between two female presenting aliens. And she said, yeah, I know that your cartoon got censored in homophobic countries and that you received a lot of pressure from the network, but I'm still going to give you an F because you didn't say the word wife. And she said that Garden's a walking closet, and like, I think I even have the heart to criticize this because it's so... So which one is worse, the grading gay rap or the one that she talks about the audience not liking things that she likes? I think that the gay rap is worse because she has a grading system and it makes it feel like objective and reason-based, and she tries to do the scientific approach of let's put the checklist on gay representation. And because she tries to be objective about this, it's inherently worse than she just complaining about the audience. At least with the other video, you can be like, oh, she's just mad, she's just resentful. But now she's trying to get a deliberate standard for grading gay representation. And please stop doing these little checklists for grading art because it doesn't work, it's never going to work, and stop doing Bechdel tests for literally every single progressive representation of media. I'm fucking begging you. 7th worst, let's talk about internet stalking. Yeah, that one. That one that was so bad that I had to make a video in the middle of the night while my family was sleeping because I just had to get on the train. I knew that it was going to blow up and get me views. I think it's worth noting that Left Hook has very different opinions than me on why this video is bad, and I'm just gonna say I don't care about the drama. And the reason I don't care is not because I don't care about abuse, it's because I cannot do anything about it. Those are people that are in the other side of the world, and this is a very much she said situation. Lizzie did a tweet saying why Lily is an abuser, and Lily made a video on why Lizzie is an abuser, and I do think that having opinions on this comes very close to having a parasocial hatred of either of these people. I'm not going to defend these people that I don't know. It's possible none of them are abusers. It's possible that both of them are. And even if my opinions are right, there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm not going to stress myself around it. Because if it were about close friends of mine, if I had any relation to these people and I could stop the abuse from happening, I would put my effort into this, into learning what happened, but there's literally nothing I can do. But I do believe it's one of the worst Lily videos that she has ever made for reasons that I have already explained. Yeah, just watch that video, I'm not going to recap this. So which one is worse? Slurred speech or this one? I gotta say that it's about the stalkers, even though I don't agree with Left Hook on why. As a general rule, I'm going to stop myself from talking about the Q slur thing because I'm not a native English speaker, so I cannot talk about the slur reclaiming because I was never called that, and I've never seen anyone get called that in my life because I live in Brazil. So I'm just going to say the worst video is the one that I've actually made a video about talking about why it's bad. 6th worst, ships have discourse, now deal with it. So I didn't finish watching this video. I just didn't. It just felt like a massive waste of time. Because she started listing a bunch of ships that are problematic, and the thumbnail has that fucking Star Wars fanfiction pair that I will never get away from in my entire life. This will pursue me until I'm dead. And I just wanted to say something. I feel like a lot of people blame fandom for things that fandoms do, but I do believe that it's more productive to blame creators for this, because when she talks about art influences reality or not, but she starts talking about fandom, then it is kind of missing the point, because fandom is going to do what fandom does no matter what the piece of art says. She even talks about people ship Anna and Frozen, but the movie does not do that. She made an entire video about how the movie does not ship the two together and how Elsa's powers are not a metaphor for LGBT, but Fandom is shipping those two anyway, so does art influence reality in that point? Because it doesn't feel like it. The movie doesn't ship those two, but people decided to latch onto that anyway. So it kind of misses the point entirely. And if you ask me where I stand, I do believe that it is useful to talk about how art influences reality, but I prefer doing so in a context in which you get a piece of art that is consumed by millions and has marketing push towards it, than just yelling at people who write fanfiction on AO3, really. I don't have any more to say about it because I literally not watching this video just felt like a massive waste of time. And because I didn't watch this video, then I have to say that it's worse than Drama Queen. Because as I have said in another video, I do understand the feeling of having something that you like being derailed into something that you don't like. It's fine. It's fine, I don't mind. Fifth worst, Steven Universe is ideologically rotten. Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I agree with her and her views on Steven Universe. I do actually think that Steven Universe is really bad. It's one of the worst disappointments I've ever seen in my life. You had this anti-racist story about how humanity is good, and then you just turned into saying that, oh, racism is correct and nepotism is the only way to save the day. I don't like Steven Universe, and I do agree with most things that Lily have said about it. But no matter how you feel about her Steven Universe views, they are not worse than the video in which she says, hey, this artist was credit for her work. So instead of just giving it, I just decided to make an entire video about how I antagonize this artist for absolutely no reason. There is no way that you can watch this video without thinking what a massive waste of time it is. Just put the fucking thing in the description. Who cares? And as I said before, it takes two to tango. The artist is apparently a crybaby for wanting to be sourced, but you are completely fine and correct for making an entire video about how it's very important that you didn't do this very simple thing that demanded almost no effort from you. Well done. Fourth worst, an incoherent discussion about main characters. Yeah, you know the video is gonna be good when the fucking title says it's going to be incoherent. So I'm going to say something that's very likely going to get clipped and quoted out of context by people that are trying to tarnish my reputation, but let me say this. Luz is an objectively boring character. I'm not saying that she is a bad character, or that if you like her, you're wrong for doing so, or that she is badly constructed and she doesn't deserve her place in the narrative. What I am saying is that there was an Owl House episode that pointed out that Luz has never thought about what she wanted in life and the major implications of that. And that is objectively more boring than a character having to figure out what they have learned from life and how they were raised and how this impacts them and if that's wrong. And just generally having to figure out their own way. It's objectively more boring. And it's not bad, because Luz is a protagonist, is a main character, and really most of main characters are inherently more boring because they appear in every single episode. So they need to not only work with very different characters, with very different personalities, but they also can be very grating for the majority of the audience. Side characters usually have more personality traits because they don't appear in every episode, and if you don't like one of them, you can just skip them. So the reason Fandom gets attached to background characters is because you are working with a biased sample. You are taking the entire audience of the Owl House, which is comprised of children, adults, and teenagers or whatever. You're taking out everyone that doesn't engage with internet discourse, which is people that just like the show or don't care, or the actual children that the show is marketed for, and you're taking a very biased sample on the audience, because people that discuss the Owl House on the internet are doing so because they want to talk about the Owl House. And they want to talk about the Owl House probably because they want to get something that the Owl House isn't giving them. Nobody goes out and read fan fiction because they are happy with how the things are portrayed in the medium. Fan fiction is an inherently transformative work. So it's either because they like something in the show and want more of it, or they don't like something in the show and want to engage in a version of the story in which the thing that they don't like is not there. So it's already starting out with a biased sample. It is just an incoherent discussion, I guess. I think that one of the things that Lily Orchard misses the mark on most is the fact that there is a very interesting discussion in how fandom influences creators. That because there is Twitter and you can yell directly at the creator now, then the creator is feeling pressure to do things that the fandom wants, even though those things are bad and the fandom is just a vocal minority. But instead of really focusing the criticism on the artists that actually gets on the show, actually get marketing budgets and get to broadcast their ideas for the entire world, she should just say, hey, fandom, stop doing this, which it's not gonna work. It's not going to be able to quiet the entire internet discussion into just discussing the things that you like. You can't do that. And I think that her insistence on the fact that people ignore main characters because of racism is fucking rich, coming from someone that engages in brownface. Yeah, she literally does that, I have proof. So here we have an image that she has reblogged to her official Tumblr. This is her puppet, and this is her profile picture on Twitter. So this is a very official picture. So let's open this in Paint and do this. And even if you're going to say that color picking is not a real argument for brown facing, let's just look at the general reality. Not only did she make a darker skinned, slutty dressed, big-breasted, cartoonish woman and is very sexualized, but she also had to go to the Tumblr and said, hey guys, I'm not actually like that. I don't actually look like this sexualized brown woman. I actually have real proportions and I dress conservatively. I'm just saying I don't actually look like that. I just use this as my puppet for reasons. I don't care about her indigenous heritage or whatever, because I do have Japanese heritage, but if I use this as a puppet, I would still get called out, and rightfully so, because I'm still using racist tropes to engage with my audience, and that's bad. So this person who has a literal brown-faced, sexualized puppet saying, yeah, you guys are racist because you don't like the characters that I like, and you like reading fanfiction about Hunter. It's bad, it's worse than Blame and Groom, because I don't know anything about the My Little Pony fandom. I cannot talk about this, about whatever they are pedophiles, but this is something that I can actually look and say, what the hell are you talking about? Third worst, stop making villains like Magneto, they suck. I'm gonna have to disagree with something that the left hook said, like, since when does Lily care about Ruby? Since it became convenient, I guess. I like the fact that Lily does mention fiction that isn't Steven Universe, The Owl House, and Korra, and whatever Disney has pegged. I like the fact that she's trying to branch out a little bit and talk about other shit. I like that. Even if she's being suspiciously vague about what she's talking about. And it feels weird that she's not putting as much detail in Ruby as she is on a work that she has already talked about in a previous video. So with that being said, I cannot talk about Legend of Korra, I didn't watch it, but I can talk a little bit about Magneto, even though I'm not a big fan of X-Men, because I believe she doesn't understand that Magneto is very different from the villains in Legend of Korra, because from what I understood, the Legend of Korra villains were built from the ground up to be villains that are hiding behind ideologies that are good. They're trying to be the status quo and they're trying to do good things, but that's just a facade for them being authoritative assholes. But Magneto did not start off like that. It started as a villain that was against the status quo, and they did exactly what Lily said that they should do. They looked at this villain that is trying to fight the status quo in a very racist society and said, man, what if he had deeper reasons to do that? What if he had personally suffered persecution, and they put that in the story? And Magneto got worked into not being a villain anymore in the comics because they did exactly what Lily told them to do. They thought about the status quo, they thought about how it was bad, and how wanting to change it doesn't automatically make you a heartless villain, because you might be a person that is suffering a lot. I haven't watched all X-Men movies, so it's possible that, I don't know, the last X-Men movie they made a Heil Hitler or whatever, I don't care. But Lily doesn't talk about the last movies either, she just talks about the one that I did watch. And I do remember that scene in which Magneto says never again. And you're not supposed to look at the scene and think, wow, this is really bad, Magneto is a really bad person now. What you're supposed to feel is grief, because you have this person that went through a lot, unimaginable pain and suffering that no one should have gone through, that stains a person for life, and that suffering is not over. He cannot just rest and be like, yeah, that's over, I can move on with my life. He needs to keep engaging with that, because this could happen again. This is something that he was not supposed to do, but he did anyway, and you're supposed to feel pain about that. You're supposed to feel grief. You're supposed to feel like this shouldn't have been happening. And I know that because Magneto accidentally gets Xavier shot, and Xavier feels the loss of his legs, and he feels guilty about that. He doesn't want to be doing this, but he feels like he has to stop the bad things from happening. And you're not supposed to look at that and think, oh man, what an ass. You're supposed to think, man, it's sad that this friendship had to be broken up, because he feels like he has to avoid this from happening because of the status quo. But believe it or not, this video is not worse than Tropes versus Sheldon Cooper, because I can't believe that she was right about Legend of Korra. Because I can understand the point that she was trying to make, that people are making villains out of people that want to change the status quo and be like, no, they want free healthcare and they want everything to be good, but they drowned the puppy for some reason. I can understand that. This actually happens. Troops versus Sheldon Cooper is just a massive amount of bullshit. The worst part of this video is by far the one where she talks about when Sheldon Cooper proposes to his girlfriend. And she says that the audience wants that to happen because they want Sheldon Cooper to get better. The way to get better is to engage in a normative heterosexual relationship. I am not straight, and I had family and friends trying to get me with men in straight relationships to try to make me get better, and that was a massive red flag for me. And even if you do agree with the point of view that Sheldon is an autistic person and he needs to get better even though he doesn't meaningfully hurt people around him and he's very happy at who he is, you need to understand that Sheldon Cooper is not the only character in this show that is portrayed as neurodivergent. Even he says, oh, I'm not crazy, I had been tested. There is another character that has lots of difficulty to interacting with the words around him. And that character is Rajesh Kuthrapali, the character that needs actual medical intervention to be able to socialize with half of the world, but he doesn't get it. He just gets mocked because, oh, it's funny and it's cute and it's quirky that he cannot talk to people. And the show actually portrays alcohol consumption as a good substitute for therapy and medical intervention. Yeah, just fucking become an alcoholic. Just do that. Big Bang Theory's had it, it's fine. Bad video, way worse than a Magneto one. Second worst, the historic revisionism modern standards. I'm gonna say I don't actually hate this video. I think that it's more incoherent than wrong. I agree with the main thesis of this video. And I can't really talk about what Left Hook talked here because I haven't actually watched Gone with the Wind, I haven't watched Hockey Horror Show, and I haven't even watched her Princess Knight video. So I am not going to talk about that, but I will say that I don't think that it's wrong, it's just confused. I can agree with the central thesis of the video, that we let a lot of historical work slide because we do not know the standards of that era, and that social movements against racism, against sexism are older than what we think, and they have been active for a very long time. The problem is that she doesn't understand that saying it was good for the time is a criticism of the work. If I say something was good for the time, I said that it was not good today, but maybe at that time it was. So it means that I am being against what the movie is portraying, which means that I am thinking that if portrayed right now in this reality, it wouldn't fly. And so she talks about how audiences are ignoring like black people and criticism. First of all, they're not saying that the movie is correct. They are criticizing the movie and saying that it does not follow standards of today. And second of all, I think that you are misunderstanding exactly how people engage with media criticism. Because if you actually go outside and talk to people, nobody cares. Nobody cares about the fucking history of the work. I mean, like, yeah, I'm going to, I don't know, watch Gone with the Wind in my HBO Max subscription, but before that, I am going to do a research on what black people thought about the black representation in the movie. Even if you think that people should do that, they won't. Stop writing your comment. They won't do that. This is a fact. There are actual college courses focused on it. You can have a PhD written on how works were perceived at the time. It's unreasonable and impossible to expect the audience at large to engage with works in that depth. What you can do is educate the audience into knowing that these tropes are bad and not interacting with them in real life or real life thinking, yeah, that's bad, I shouldn't do that, which they already do by the virtue of the criticism it was good for its time, because it does have the but attached, but it's not good now. They are able to look at the historical piece of fiction and be like, yeah, this wouldn't fly now because I understand why this is wrong. And I do believe that expecting anything more than that for the general audience is way too much to ask. You need to go get graduated in history, in media analysis, for you to have a very good understanding of every single piece of media that you watch and the context at the time. You cannot demand that from the audience. So I think that the viewer is very confused, but I can understand why Lily thinks this. She is upset that she made a bad video and she didn't explain her point very well, that the Princess Knight is not good for its time, and overcorrected this and was very mad. I think that she should have been mad at herself instead of her audience. But I understand why she thinks that. And this video could have been good if it were one of two things. The first one is her talking about a specific video and how they're wrong about that. People that actually want to have their opinions taken seriously in culture and being like, yeah, this person is professing to be very professional and knowing what they're talking about, but they aren't. Here's what they're missing. She could do this with this video that she shows a lot on her video, but she doesn't actually say how they're wrong. And she could also do that with her previous video, Quagmire's Dad, that she did, and she said that it was better than people expected, and she could just look at it and said, well, I actually did something wrong. I did that whoopsie. I actually should have been more critical of that, and that's what you should be doing too. The second thing she could have done is taking a piece of work that she feels is receiving way too much benevolence from critics and explaining why it isn't so, which she tries to do in the second half, which she tries to say that Princess Knight is not as feminist as people think it is, that Gone with the Wind actually have faced protests and pretty good opposition from black people, but she just confuses herself and blames the audience for that, and people aren't going to know that. It would be better if she just spent her time educating the audience, and before I ask, oh, because it's not her job to do that, but it is her job, she's a YouTuber, she explains to her audience progressive things. She could actually have made a history lesson. So I do believe that this video is worse than her 2-hour Steven Universe video. As I have said, I actually agree with her Steven Universe opinions. I think that the part of the video where she starts talking about Star Wars is kind of lame. I don't agree with everything that she said. And I do think she should just get over it and talk about something else. But I agree with what she says. I don't agree with the criticism that says that the video is too long. Because, I mean, it's what YouTube is like now. People are making hour-long videos about Disney Fast Pass. I don't think this is a bad thing. And I don't believe that she's caring too much because it is a cartoon that got broadcast over the entire world and got really famous. And it is a piece of art worthy of their attention because it's consumed by a lot of people. And I do believe that the show fucked up and it does not deserve the excuse of being just for kids, because they were for kids, but they're trying to do that anyway, because they're telling actual children that if they are LGBT and their parents are abusing them, they should absolutely try to make it up to them. Which, considering the size of the audience of the Steven Universe, statistically speaking, many children will be hurt by this lesson. So I do actually like her Steven Universe video. If you want to, you're free to complain about it in my comments. Number 1, let's talk about abuse, catfights, and psychoanalysis fallacies. Okay, I don't care about Shira. I am going to give the benefit of the doubt to Lily because Left Hook herself actually doesn't like Shira, it doesn't like the pairing. So I am going to assume that the pairing is unhealthy, but she's trying to tell people to not psychoanalyze the creator of the pairing, while she herself tries to psychoanalyze. It's very weird. She says, nah, if you're being abused, you're not going to marry your abuser. Everyone knows not to do that, which is really weird, victim blaming, because people do get abused in marriages, I don't know what to tell you. And she does quote that 30% victims of abuse become abusive. I'm not going to talk about that. As Left Hook pointed out, she doesn't have any sources for that, she doesn't say. But Left Hook also says things that she doesn't put sources, so yeah, this isn't good either. I just think that it's a complete mess of a video. You could make a video about how Cachadora was bad, but she's trying to psychoanalyze the creator while telling people not to psychoanalyze the creator. It's like, do this even matter? Do you even care? So is it worse than Not Good Enough? I think it is, because as I have said, I don't think that her opinions on cartoons are going to be worse than opinions on real life events and people. And she's trying to psychoanalyze the creator by saying no, because they probably went through abuse and they're not abusing their wife. She's talking about a real life person. And this is worse than conjecturing about a cartoon. So my closing remarks, I'm very disappointed that Left Hook's list didn't include the video in which I made my first Lily Orchard video on, the one with the trolley problem, because that one was so bad. I talked about it already, go watch it. I think that is the worst video that Lily Orchard has ever done, because she tries to talk about politics in real life when it's very obvious she's talking from a very privileged first world perspective and trying to talk about media even though she only watches Star Wars. So I think that is the worst video she has ever done. And I do believe that Drama Queen is not her worst video on anime. I do actually see why she did that. But as I said, I'm just putting my work on someone else. I am not going to watch every single Lily Orchard video to make a top 10 worst videos. I have better things to do with my life. So I appreciate that Left Hook did the work for me. I thank you very much. I wouldn't be talking about her if I thought that her writing was bad, because I think it's good. And while I don't agree with everything that she says, I do think she makes some good points, and I do suggest you go check out what she writes on Medium. Because we can keep talking about how Lily is bad, but we can also talk about how other creators are good. Because I do believe that these videos are trying to get you negative, and instead of just tearing down on Lily, I think that it's good that I'm trying to uplift other creators. So go take a look at their Medium texts, and well, see you around next time.